All right, well, good evening again, everybody. Hope everybody's full. Just want to show our appreciation. There were several folks that donated our pizzas this evening, so let's show our appreciation to them. So now I'd like to welcome our founder of Miriam's Table, Susie Keefer. So thank you so much. So glad you're here.
Good evening. Thank you so much for coming out, even in this kind of nasty weather. I'd like to start this evening with a video that I put together in honor of our sewing team. I actually think it's quite an amazing ministry, so I'm calling it a sewing ministry. But I'm going to show that video first. You'll see different years of the children. Most of them are from this year, but we've been taking dresses for probably 4 years now. And so you'll see some different scenes of the children getting their clothing. Oh, the background music is kids, the King's Kids. They were really tickled to have those dresses. You can see that they're pretty excited to have the new clothes, and I want you to know that when we put them on there, they're usually right over their other clothing, but then they take them off and they fold them up and they walk back to their house with this new piece of clothing, so precious to them. Someday I'm going to do this without crying. So this is my trip, my 14th trip, and so I wanted to share, because some of you may not really know that the Congo Partnership, Miriam's Table, is under the umbrella of the Congo Partnership. We have our own tax ID number because we earn all of our own money, but the money is still sent. When I write a check from our money here, I send it to our conference in Dover, and then the money is wired along with the rest of the Congo Partnership money. And these are the list of all the programs that we have there. We have a medical and nutrition center. We have Miriam's Table Nutrition Center. The New Life Skills is a program that started near Miriam's Table where we're teaching sewing and making soap and other things that they can learn to do to teach themselves so they can sell. It gives them some income. The children's ministry we are servicing in the upcountry where I travel to. We have over 3,000 children that come twice a week in 36 different locations to hear about Jesus. And I'll show you some of that program because it's a blast, and it's just amazing. And we have a wonderful agricultural program called the Cape Loja Farm. The Mamatola Social Program is a program for young, either pregnant young mothers who have had to leave school. And this program is just, I think, one of my most loved programs there because they're teaching young women to sew, to cook. They teach them how to raise a Christian family. They talk about budget and finance. And when I met with them one rainy night, I asked them, what has this program done to change your life? And each girl popped up with something about their life. The one lady said, well, I already have 4 children, and now I'm learning how to not do that anymore. You know what I mean? She was learning about how to manage her family and all those kind of things, and it was just a really fun time. And so the program is really, really special. And this dress actually came from there because they waited to celebrate their graduation until I arrived. So you'll see a little bit of that graduation program for that. We also have a secondary school there. It started out as a girls' school, but there are now boys attending the school. And I interviewed them last year and talking about what their goals were. I think I shared that last year. We have a trade school where they're learning, masonry and carpentry and all kinds of things. We have our freshwater wells, and also we just are opening a new ophthalmology clinic. We'll be training our surgeon there to do cataract surgeries, and he'll be starting a program here within the next month. So there's lots of stuff going on, and I will try to share much of those things. If I talk too long, you can wave a handkerchief and say it's time to be quiet, because I could talk all night. So, but I'll not do that. So I thought maybe I would just give you a couple of minutes about my journey of how I ended up being in Congo, because some of you may not know that. It'll just be a kind of quick. But in 2010, I was invited to join a mission team to go there when I was attending the Epworth Church. And so for some reason, I just really felt called to do that. And so I went, and there you can see we're at the nutrition center in Mpaso, where I met Miriam in 2011. But when I was there that first minutes as we landed, and I saw machine guns and soldiers and traffic and smelly garbage and everything, I thought to myself, God, did you really tell me to come here? I think I mentioned that when I was sharing, that as I wasn't really sure that after I got there, that's what he really wanted. And then, of course, at the end of those 10 days, I was breathing in the air and wishing to go back there, wondering how I was going to get there for another time. And so that's how that happened in 2010. In 2011, I call it the magic of touches. When I met Miriam, that's her right there. And so once we met and things in her life changed, in 2012, everybody said, let's bring her home. So that was what 2012 brought to us. In 2013, she finally got her visa, and there she is holding her new visa. And then 2014, we opened the doors of Miriam's Table, and that happened when I was there in 2013 and was waiting for Miriam's visa to come. I ended up being there for 37 days. It was supposed to be 8 to 10 days, and God's timing was a little different, and so was the Congolese. So I ended up being there, and it was during that time that everybody in Mpaso knew who I was and came looking for me and asking, we came to see your Susie. We understand that she is feeding your children here in the nutrition center, and our children are starving. Can she feed our children? And that's the story that I came home with to tell Ed about it. And it was really him who stood there and said, I think we need to do this. And so it was from that moment we started to pray about it. And then, in 1 year, almost exactly a year later, we opened the doors. And there were 65 children. We were hoping for 150. In 2 weeks, we had 250 children. And we knew there were still 100 more that needed. So God just kept providing and providing for that. So and so 2022, we now have the 350 children, and they're fed in 2 groups because there's too many to fit. And so we take the morning kids that are going to school early, and then the afternoon, we serve one later at like 11 o'clock for the kids that are going to be going to the afternoon school. So it works out good. We have an amazing staff, as you can see them in the pictures there with the dresses. So when I arrived at Miriam's table this year, as you can see, there was a little bit of happiness. So in that pile there, though, I looked down, and there was a child down there that had kind of gotten scrunched under, so I had to lift one up. But it was really a lot of fun to return and have that kind of... and I had to walk because to Miriam's table from a walking place because the erosion there had gotten so bad. And I'll show you pictures of it here in a little bit, but you couldn't get a car there anymore. You have to be dropped off and walk through. And then I had suitcases with all the dresses in, and so the staff came out and they put them on top of their heads, and away they went down through the erosion. But these are the staff members that we've become quite a family. They are like a family to each other, and when I come, we're just all very close to one another. This lady that I'm holding on to right there, she's one of the ladies who started with us in 2014, and in 2015, 2 of her children died from typhoid fever. And so we became really close because I was there during the time that the first one passed, and so we became very close, and she has really just held on to Miriam's table, and she's part of the church that meets there on Sunday mornings, and she's the one that grabs the kids to play games, and she just, it's really her lifeline, and I'm just really, God just takes care of things when you least expect him to do things. And this is when we're feeding, when we're there. A lot of times we'll start feeding, and the kids will take their bowls outside where it's not as crowded, and then we keep on going because there's so many. And so when I was there, they did it in one feeding, so there was like all 300 kids, 350 kids all over the place, but it was a lot of fun. You can see how cute they are and how much they love their food. The government now provides bread every day, and so you'll see a chunk of bread in there. They like to break it up and mix it in with their poto that they're eating. There's a couple of little girls. If you have any questions during the time, please feel free to ask. So we play a lot of games when I'm there, and I carry this parachute when I go. And so they have fun with that. The parachute, I leave one there with them, but I travel with another one, and everywhere I go through the upcountry, I pull that parachute out, and people come from I don't know where. They're walking down, and I say, come on, and then we'll have like a whole pile of kids and adults who love to, just grab a hold of a place and just play with it, and it's just a neat thing to get people to come around. She was playing, this is a game that they play. You can see me mixed in there. You can see the one white face is mine. And they play this game where they get you to come to the other side, and then you turn your back and do all this stuff. So they came to take me and put me in theirs. So fun. And this was another game. We can stir up a lot of dust when we're playing games. And you'll see that by my feet. And I said to my staff, I said, that's why your feet are black and mine are white, because that doesn't show up on your feet when we're done playing these games. So that's how we are. So, Miss Elizabeth, I wanted you to see your instruments made it all the way there. And we handed them out at church on Sunday morning, and the children were playing them, and so here they are showing you all the instruments that I took from, Elizabeth gave to me to take to the, and so we decided to use them at the church. And so they keep them there and play with on Sunday mornings. The young man beside me, with the little suit jacket, is the new pastor there. And they have started a Sunday school program. And when I was there during church, they had the Sunday school before church. And so they asked one of the children if somebody would volunteer. And she stood up and told a whole story that she had learned about Jonathan in the Bible. It was just amazing. She just told everything she remembered from that morning. It was very cool. And Sunday school is a whole new concept for them. And that's coming from the idea of the children's ministry, because usually the children, they don't have children's church or anything like that. And so it's pretty nice that they've actually got the idea of starting to teach the children. So we had the well that was done 2018 or 19, I think it was finalized with the Rotarians there. We worked with International Rotary, the Rotary here, the Rotary over there. But the well was not working, and we haven't had water for a while, so we were paying for water again. And so I met with an engineer while I was there, and he made me all these promises that he was going to do the whole checkup and do all this stuff. And he actually came through, had all the everything he was going to need, came up with a bid, did it in a time frame, and he was absolutely amazing. And now the water is flowing beautifully. And they repaired, took all new. They use the solar panels because there's no electricity, and so the solar panels will bring the electricity down to the well because it's too deep for a hand pump. So they have an electric pump on there, and they'll pump it up to the tower and then let the water come down to a certain thing before they have to do it again. So they put all new solar panels up and did all new wiring and everything so you can see them working. There were some things that had never really been put on there, so he was doing all kinds of things. And so there's the water.
People are very happy because of the water. We can drink easily. Things are the very important things that you have done with all the people with United Methodist, especially the board of administration of Miriam Table. We are very thankful for what you have done. Thank you very much.
That's Adolphe. He's my interpreter and also who we stay with when we're there. So I was going to break this slideshow up a little bit differently than I've done before. Instead of doing everything that I did in a row, I'm going to kind of break it up as the thing. So this is the crazy travel. If you remember last year, I showed you some crazy travel, but I had some totally crazy stuff this year as well. It's always interesting. So in the city of Kinshasa, there's like 1 million cars or more, because there's like over 8 million people living in the city now. They're saying maybe close to 11 million people there. So, and everybody's on the street. And these are their taxis. And most of the time you will see people hanging out the back, the sides, and they take the seats out and they put benches in there so that they can hold more people. But the interesting thing about Kinshasa, if you look at this picture, you'll see that that cart is in front of that vehicle. They still are using the old-fashioned ways of moving things around. So you'll see those carts going through, traffic stopped still, and the people with their carts full of stuff still going through the traffic. This is just one of the busy streets. There are a lot of motorcycles using them as taxis. It gets them through faster. So then we did an in-country flight. We were on our way to Loja, was where we were supposed to, but they said we were going to stop in Shumbe first, which was my first time to actually fly into Shumbe, which is a rather small village. And so, but when we got there, we all had to get off the plane, and they took everything out of the plane because the plane was also filled with tons and tons of supplies. And so they brought some Congolese guys, and they were hauling all this stuff as we stood out there. But this is the little airport. Don't you love it? It's just has a little fence around it and everything. And people come, when the airplane comes, people will come to the fence. And so here's the boys unloading everything out of the truck, and they throw it over to the side, and then more people come and take it. But that's how they get some of their supplies, is through the Air Congo, it's called. There's the pile. You see all the people lined up along the grass there watching. It has names on it, and it goes to certain people who do the distribution of it. There's names on all of the bags. And so they take it to the airport, and then people will come with carts to get it. Or motorcycles. Okay, so yeah. So then we get there, and I this year was going to travel with the bishop of the Episcopal area, and they were getting ready for annual conference. And so we were going to travel from Dianganga all the way down to Wimbo, which takes about 7.5 hours. And this is our vehicle. When we stopped at a village for the night before we went down there, we stopped at a village because we were going to bless a new well and a new building. The bishop was going around the building with a blessing of holy water, and then he blessed the new well. But I want you to see on top there, our luggage there, but there are 6 goats on the top. And then when we stopped at the next place, they added chickens to the goats to go on down. And when I show you the roads, you're going to be amazed because there's a young man that works with our driver who does all the grunt work when we get stuck or whatever. He stands on the bumper on the outside and hangs onto the back of the car for 7.5 hours. It poured down rain. He had chickens in his face, but he never got off the car until we needed him, and we had to get out of the car because it wouldn't go. He had to tear down all the stuff to make the road so we could pass over. So here we are. It did start to rain, not the rainy season. We had this burst of clouds, and so you can see how the water runs. And if you can imagine what that would be like every day, how it gets so rutted. And so your cars are kind of doing this thing, you know. And I was in a vehicle, that white one, but the seats run long ways. 2 benches so that your back sits to the window and you're knee to knee with whoever might be across. Well, we had 9 people back there, all adults. And there were 5 on my bench because I was the smaller one. So they put an extra person. So we had there was 5 grown men and 4 women in there. So we were like knee to knee. So if you had to move, then the person across you also had to readjust. But anyway, we were doing that for all these hours in the car. And I had this on, and I could still use it because it still had electricity. So when I got down there, well, while I was riding, the watch kept saying, "Do you want me to mark this exercise?" Because I was doing so much bouncing that it was thinking I was out working out. And so when I got down there and I took it off for the night, I had 20,000 steps riding in a car. So that was pretty funny. I laughed really hard on that. So here's one of the roads. That's a pretty good one, actually. It's not too bad because it's pretty flat in the middle, but it's pretty well down in. And this is a little video of when we had to get out and go to the top. It's not moving because the weight couldn't come up. That's our photographer that rides with us. He does the Episcopal news for the area. So. But that was so rutted, and the guy was telling me about the road in the back. He had to cut down all those branches to cover up the holes so that we could try to get up. It took a while for us to get to where we needed to be. So on our way home from the village to go back to Dianganga, we ended up meeting up with the governor, of who we saw fly into Wimbo and had to stand for his plane and do all the shaking of hands. And he actually came to the United Methodist Conference, annual conference, and they had a front row seat for him and a couch and everything, and it was pretty cool. But we ended up following, this is him. We met up with him at the ferry. I'll show you the ferry in a minute, but this is us following his 3 cars. And, you know, we're just anxious to get home, but he was stopping at all these villages. And we can't, as you can see, there's no way to go around a car. So it took us a whole lot longer to get home. But here we are, this video. So that's why my watch was doing what it was doing. And so this is the erosion going to Miriam's table. So this is to walk by foot through the undrivable erosion that we had there. There I am going down through to get to Miriam's table. It doesn't stop the people, though. They just keep on going. You know, the government has come and taken a look at it, though. They're figuring out what they can do to alleviate that. And this is the ferry, and you can see all the palm branches that are all hanging on the ferry. That was because the governor was on the ferry with us, and so they were expecting him, and so we rode across with him. So we had kind of a lot of a VIP stuff going on at the ferry with him there. But he was very nice, and he talked to me, because I'm the only white face, so of course he comes to shake hands with me because I'm different. And we did get to chat for a few minutes, so that was interesting, because he did speak some English. It's very good. So the next section is called Celebrations and Accomplishments that I was that I witnessed while I was there, that I really want to share with everyone tonight. So this is Miriam's table, just celebrated last week. It's 8 years of nutrition, and so staff decided to sing the happy anniversary song. So they all had, we had a special meal. The children came, they had chicken and rice and beans, and everybody got their own bottle of soda. So you can see the staff was holding soda up there. So the next ministry that I love to celebrate is the children's ministry. As I told you, there's like 3,600 children, but there's actually more now because they've had 2 classes where they've trained more teachers in more villages now. So there's a lot more. But this was the children that came from the Wembo area where I was staying for the annual conference, and this was them waiting as we came out. And they were so quiet, you just didn't really. They're singing in English. Welcome.
Mama Susie.
And they presented me with that dress and I wore it to annual conference that day. They gave Adolph a matching shirt, so we wore that. But I wanted you to look at this little girl right here in the front, and then her twin sister, you can see, is kind of in back. Her twin sister's very shy, but you see the 2 wooden blocks beside her. That is how she gets around. Both the children were born with the same problem, and so she had these 2 blocks, and they just moved the blocks and dragged their legs. So I want to share with you at the end of this, you'll see what the Congo Partnership did for these children. So this is her doing one of her scripture memories. Everybody was so through. But there were all these children who had memorized all these scriptures, and I would walk to each child and be able to shake their hand when they were finished. So there's a couple pictures of me listening and that little boy smiling because I came over to him to shake his hand. But it's amazing. And then they did 2 plays while we were there. They did the Adam and Eve, and they had these sock puppets, which they did part of that last year. But they added to it, and they had more costumes and more puppets, and then they added the Cain and Abel story. And they even built this little fire on the porch for their, what is it? Yeah, there you go, offering to the Lord. It was very cute. So these twins have always been dragging their legs behind them, as you can see the way they have to sit. And so we bought bicycles that they use their hands. And this was the first time, so you can see them still sitting on the ground there. And then they got their bikes, and they said they would never have to be on the ground again for children's things or for anything they want to go to. And their parents were in absolute tears. And it was amazing to watch the father behind the one and the mother behind the other little girl as they taught them how to pedal along. It was really cool. And so now you can see the one little girl's right there. They're singing, and she's up with everybody else. Yes. I don't know. I don't know what they had. It could be. I don't know. But they both, they both can speak and memorize and go to school. So they have good brain power. It's just that their legs just don't work. And they have very strong arms, obviously. So this is a village. This is the village that I went to because we're getting ready to drill a fresh well. Last year I went there by motorcycle. It's 37 kilometers by motorcycle out there. So we went again this year because the well is being dug right about now because it takes a long time for the equipment because it's really hard to get to the villages. And so the equipment takes a while to get there. So the children's ministry is getting ready to open a new children's part here. But the director is on the ground there. He went with us to be with us that morning, and I got there, and it was getting ready for annual conference that day, so no pastors were in their churches. So they weren't sure they were going to have church, so when I got there, they asked me if I could share. Could I do a message? I'm like, yeah, okay. But luckily, I had spoken here that last Sunday in June. I had some of my notes with me, and I was able to share the story with my interpreter there, and it was really a lot of fun to be able to minister them like that. But while we were waiting for people to come, the children started gathering around, and so the children's ministry director started singing, and we were going down the street. So they can just gather up and just start doing ministry wherever they are, which is really wonderful. And this is, after we left that village, then it was Sunday afternoon, and so the children's ministry is meeting at all their little places. So we stopped on our way back to visit one of the ministries, and they were doing some singing, and whoops, what happened to it? Well, it didn't play. I'm not sure. Anyway, they were doing singing and things, and then they presented me with bananas, but I don't see it. Anyway, so this is all the children that were there singing that and learning new scripture and being part of it. So, but they do these wonderful songs where you could hear him holler something and then they respond, and that's the kind of things they're learning as they come, and they learn all about Jesus. And sometimes we bought them a solar panel and a battery and a slide thing, and they actually show a video in their language about Jesus. And so some evenings they get together and they invite children to come and they play the video and they share about the salvation message. So it's pretty cool to see it. This is our successful agricultural program. It's one of really like a bright star for the Congo Partnership because we have lots of animals there. There's cows and pigs and chickens and goats and all kinds of animals that are healthy now. They have a lot of plants. They have a big pineapple field there. You can see the cattle is pretty healthy. We had a veterinary that came and checked them and got the special medicines that they needed to keep them healthy. So that was good. Something, not sure. Okay, so this is a pineapple plant. I don't know if you knew that pineapples only produce two pineapples a year. It takes 6 months for a pineapple to grow on there. So there's a little one growing right there. And well, there was a big pineapple on there. I don't know what's going on with that. Okay, this is we bought these grinders, and so what they do is they have customers that come that bring their corn or their wheat or whatever they need to be ground, and they use these machines to grind it into flour and the different things that they need. It's supposed to play. What happened, Mr. Technology? None of my videos are playing. Can you click it from there? Well, it worked last night, just saying. Anyway, you're going to see them loading the things in there, and they were actually doing flour while I was there that day. And there should be a picture. Nope, that's not it. Can you go back one? I don't know what happened. There's a picture. They learned from a pastor that was there that in the United States, when the Amish people, they like to put the pineapples on their houses for good luck and everything. So you buy, the wooden one, and he was explaining that to him because they grow pineapples there. And so the picture shows me standing under a pineapple at the house that I was staying at. And they hung a pineapple and have all this pretty vine around the door when you get there so that you can have good luck while you're there. So I wanted you to see these. This is just some scenes that happen every day. The women go down to the river and they cut all whatever they've been growing. They cut it and they come back. And this is something that happens every day. Children and women go down early in the morning when the dew is still there on the grass, and they come back in the afternoon, like at 3 o'clock or so. There's a little girl. And there's some other ladies who had cut wood. That's manioc that's on her head that they use for all kinds of cooking. Okay, so Joyce isn't here, but I want her to know that the next time that the men's choir sings, this is what we should see. Oh, please let it play. Oh. Should be 2 videos of the boys dancing. Is everything going blank? Okay, yep. So this is in the little church that I was at, and so they have, their church services will last quite a long time only because they have these awesome choirs. The boys' choir, and there'll be a children's choir and a ladies' choir and a men's choir. And a lot of times the men's choir, they'll be using a United Methodist hymnal, one of their praise hymnals. And you'll see, there you go. Okay, there you go. Men's choir. The shoulders, the way they move their shoulders cracks me up. Picture Pastor Earl in the men's choir there. That little church still had the seats were just made out of planks of wood with little branches that held them up there, and a little dirt floor. Great little church. You can see the benches. Okay, so then I asked them if they could just dance one more time before I left, and then I gave them money because they were going to be performing at the annual conference, but they really wanted uniforms. So I gave them money to buy fabric so that they could all have a new shirt. So here, this is what they're doing for me outside. And if you can see the instruments, they're made out of logs. They sit on like a log that's been hollowed out. And they have these big strings on there. And they sit on the log. And that makes that thumping sound, bass sound. Handmade basses. So this is the Mama Tola social program I was telling you about. This is their graduation. Each of the ladies made their own, designed and made their own dress from the sewing program. And so this is them coming into the program. people don't start anything really on time, and the schedule is really not such a thing. So if you look there, you'll think there's not many people there, but they keep coming and coming and coming till the church was packed. This is the church in Dianganga. So this, I'm going to show you just a snippet of this video. This is the lineup of the faculty and directors, myself and Adolphe. The girls will be called up one by one. And this is such a great program because I told you that the husbands become so proud of their wives for completing this program and coming back to their house and doing completely new and different things than they ever did before in their homes. And so they're really proud of them. And so this is just a short snippet of the joy that you see. And listen to the whole. Yeah. And some of them, one lady brought her, she had a new little baby, so she brought her new little baby and handed him to somebody to keep while she got to get her certificate. It was a really fun time, a lot of joy in their accomplishment of graduating from a program that they learned so much about themselves. And they actually teach them, they're illiterate, some of them, so they have English and math that they teach as well. And this is all the girls at the end. Another one of my very favorite programs, this takes place in Impasa at the Nutrition Center, where we also feed the other children where Miriam grew up. But these are the elderly people that come 3 times a month to receive fish and rice and some cheese. The government supplies some cheese and whatever other products that we can get many of. They come, and I love them so much, and so we have become really good friends. And so we look forward to seeing each other each time we come. And so we're doing a song there, you can see. And they're using these. This is their homemade tambourine things made out of a can. So they have, you can see them up in the air there. Since they don't really have. They now have some instruments, though, since Elizabeth has. So everyone that comes, I greet them with a kiss, which is unusual because the elderly people are not hugged on and like I do. So I give everybody a kiss. And then I always ask them to share something with me that God has done in their life since I saw them before. And so they all, they'll stand up, and you see the lady, she stands up, and they share something about God in their life, which is really, just amazing stories of that. This lady was a scream, and so I have to show you them dancing because we were singing before we gave out the food. This is this little lady in the front. She's so darn cute. So they will come, and then we do the singing and everything and sharing with them, and then that gives them enough to have several meals at home. Helps them out. This is just a couple of photographs from when we were with the bishop, a celebration of annual conference. I want you to know that their annual conference has 1,500 people that come. So these little villages are just packed with people. And so in amongst all this fanfare for the bishop, and there's a lot of fanfare, a lot of palm branches and everything. That's him in the blue right there in the front. You'll see him in the purple shirt. And in amongst all of that, you can see, this is at another village that we went to where we blessed the church. They have a great big poster, I think you'll see it, of him on that big thing they're holding. And amongst all that, it was funny that we had our windows open on that car that I was in, and I heard little kids hollering my name. I had been to that village last year, and we played games for a whole evening, and so they saw me, and they started hollering my name. I thought, wow, here I am in all this fanfare for the bishop, somebody knows my name. So it was funny. This is at the beginning of the annual conference when we came in. And so I'm getting close to the end, but this is, when I get back to Miriam's table, this is when I went back at the end, the day before we left. The children just come and we just walk along holding hands and enjoying each other's company. And I said goodbye to everybody at Miriam's table before I left, but they all walked to our car through the erosion and everything and came to the car to say goodbye, which was really a wonderful time of them being with me being with them. So this is my end. How do you spell love? Said Pigley. So you don't spell it, you feel it. Well, that's the end of that. Anybody have any questions? No, in the villages they'll be teaching it in their language. In those villages, it's Kitembo is what they speak in those languages. They actually make Bibles in that language for them. Actually, it's called Otitela, and we had a hard time finding Bibles, but we did find some, and we actually picked them up, and I gave them the money to pick them up, and they got them another 50 Bibles. But it is hard to find some of them in their language. But if they're in Kinshasa, in the big city, they will be teaching them French. And so they speak French if they've been educated. But, when I'm with Adolphe, he speaks 9 different languages from the Congo. And so when he gets a phone call, people say, have you learned the language? Well, I said, I don't have time because he speaks a different language every time he answers his phone. Depending on who it is, he will be speaking the language that they call him in. So it's amazing to listen to all the language part. But I am trying to learn some more French so I can understand the French part. Yes?
Susie, in the United States we have a machine, and it can pick up the soil that's anywhere, and it can just add cement to it, and it puts it back down, and then a roller comes behind it, makes it sort of a version of the original Roman roads, but all you have to do is add powdered cement, and I don't know, but you don't have to do asphalt, you don't have to do concrete.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if a machine like that could ever get there, but the soils look really sandy.
It's very sandy.
So it would really take to this soil cement if the machine could ever get there.
Yeah. The problem with that we found, because I know they really wanted us to buy a tractor when we first were working years ago, but they can't get parts. And so once they have a tractor and it breaks down, there's no way to get parts there. Congo is not like a lot of other African countries. Its government is very backward. They've only been, from under the Belgian king for like 65 years now. So it's hard. They're still a young country, and their government is pretty corrupt. And so it's a very rich country when it comes to, they have titanium and copper and everything you can imagine, but every time somebody comes and offers something to the government, it gets pocketed. They're taking the titanium, but doesn't go to the people. So they're still, in a very bad way there, which is something I pray about always, that somehow, they do have a new president now, and we're hoping to see some change. It's been very difficult for them. Anybody else?
Did you see any influence of the Chinese in your area?
Well, not in the upcountry, but in Kinshasa, they were doing, several years ago when I was there, it was like all this building was going on, like the main road downtown, and there were Chinese people everywhere, but all the Congolese people were doing the work, the Chinese people were in charge of everything. So a lot of money, I think, went to China from that time they were there, but they made this huge thoroughfare down through the middle of Kinshasa, and they put these lights and everything out, stop lights and all that thing, but Nobody knew what to do with that. And so the lights, nobody follows lights there. It's just, it's kind of a free-for-all, you know, when it comes to the driving downtown or anything. Kind of like Taiwan, I think. Millions of people on the road just bumping into each other. It's hard to find a car that's not beat up. Yes, sir.
Have you seen an influence of COVID over there when you were there just recently? Was it an issue of any kind?
It really had not really become this huge issue in Congo, even when the first strain went through, because the government just said you're not going anywhere, you're not traveling, so nobody could fly to the upcountry. There were no flights to move you from city to village or anything. The upcountry never got it, where I fly to on the small plane, because no one was allowed to go there. And when I was there last year, Miriam and my daughter Jacqueline and I, we had to take a COVID test to get into the country, and a COVID test when they left the country and when I left, but also when I flew to the upcountry, I had to take a test before I could go there. So yeah, they you know, when the government says you're not doing it, you're not doing it. And so they weren't even able to take buses to go out to, there was never a case of COVID in Impasa where we have Miriam's Table. No one ever was sick. So that's pretty amazing.
Are they on malaria drugs over there?
They don't, I'm on one when I'm there, but they don't have, what happens is, and my interpreter, Adolphe, he gets malaria because he has the kind that comes back. So every time he gets like a mosquito bite, he gets malaria. All they have is the drugs for once you have malaria. When Miriam first came here, she got really, really sick in the first month that she was here. And I feared because she had malaria twice while I was in the country there. And I thought maybe she had the kind that was going to come back. But interestingly enough, our emergency room here didn't know what to do with it if she was going to have malaria. You know, they were trying to figure out how to even test for it because it's not something we do here. So she didn't have it. The young doctor in the emergency room got online and started trying to read things about it. So they did some sort of test on her, but she didn't have it. But yeah, it happens quite often. You know, it is. Now we do. The United Methodist Church has the malaria campaign, and they do furnished nets, and they still do it at Miriam's Table too. They're still passed out there for mothers with new babies and up to 5 years old. They'll keep nets. We are still drilling freshwater wells. There are a lot of villages still waiting for fresh water, so we pray for that ministry all the time so we can keep drilling wells.
Is Miriam's Table going to expand to those wells that are going to be put up, stuff with the nutritious and like you're doing with the one village, the next village, and keep expanding?
Yeah, Miriam's Table is located in a different part of the country than where we're doing those wells. But they do have nutrition programs there. But a lot of their nutrition programs in the villages are using gardens. There are people that come and teach them how to grow certain foods that they can stay healthier. So it works. It's much easier there. There's just not so many millions of people. Typhoid fever is probably, or any of the waterborne diseases are what we have more problems with in the upcountry than we have starvation. So that's why the water wells are so important there. Anything else?
What type of work, or how do they earn income, men or?
Well, that's one of the reasons why we have some of the programs that we do. Like the farm, we teach them how to become farmers there, and then we keep them. Some of the workers stay there and help raise our farm, but we're teaching them. Interesting that they didn't know that you could use the manure from the animals to enrich the soil for your products, for their plants. And so when I went there, when I meet with people, I always ask them, when I was meeting with the committee for the agriculture was interesting because I always like to ask them, what do you think you're doing well? What's happening good? I ask them to tell me first before they tell me all the things they still need. And so I let them share with me. And one of the things was that they had learned when Jonathan Baker was there last January, he was sharing with them about the manure. and how to use, from all the animals that we have to use that. And that made such a huge difference in their plants. So they were really excited about something so simple like that really helped them to produce better and healthier crops.
Do they sell the crops that they?
They do. There's some larger villages like Loja where we fly into is a bigger village, and so they take it into town and they sell it. And there's certain times a year that you can make more money on the meats, like when like this time of year, when we're getting into our holiday season is also some other holidays for them and end of year celebrations and things. So they'll like butcher one of the cattle now so that they can sell it for a better price. So, there's a lot of people that are builders, carpenters and things, a lot of farmers. There are people, if you're living in Kinshasa, there are some factories where they make fabric and some things like that. So in the city, downtown Kinshasa, there are some banks, and it's developed. Every time I go there, there's just more kind of merchandising thing going on in the city. But the village life is just so different. It's like two lives, two different places. I mean, they're still making thatched roofs, things like that.
Are teachers paid there, or are teachers volunteers?
The programs that we have, they're paid through us, and also the government gives them some money. But the government doesn't always pay on time, and so it's been a problem. Sometimes we have to go ask the government to try to get the money to the people. We actually try to negotiate that for them sometimes because they're kind of lax in getting things to them in a timely manner. So anyway, we had a wonderful celebration of 8 years of Miriam's Table, and I would have never guessed when I went there in 2010 all the things that God had planned. So now Miriam's Table is currently working on a medical center. We haven't started the building process yet, but when I was there, Bishop Yang Lunge had me going to a couple properties that the church currently owns. And so we were going to actually build right at Miriam's Table, but I think God is leading us in a different kind of way, that he still wants us to do a medical center, but it might not be located there. There was a neat property downtown where one of the district superintendents is living right now, but he wanted me to see that piece of property, and it's gated, so it's all safe. It'd be a safe place, and there's already a building there, so it might be a good place to start. So we're thinking about that. We're praying a lot about what we want to do that way, and Miriam's Table Board is working hard on trying to find new ways to figure out the income that we would need for a medical center and things. So you can keep that in your prayers to see where God's going to lead us on that. So shall we pray? Heavenly Father, we do thank you for opportunities that you bring our way to share you and the love of you around the world. We thank you for each and one of these people that are here tonight, that are supporting and loving the programs that we are currently doing in Congo. We ask that you continue to bless us as we do. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. Thank you.
Everyone here tonight. It's probably not enough.
Oh, but thank you. And thank you, everybody that helped with the food and everything. It was wonderful. Thank you so much.